going to show you how this mainstream nonsense works. And it all starts with this comment here from a video of mine from I think last week, from a character called Trust No One, who goes on to say, that guy Dave Farina, the professor, is humiliating flat earth theories. Now the flat earth to me is simply demonstrable science that can be tested and verified by all, the results of which prove the globe scientifically impossible. So is Dave Farina an Italian barber, hairdresser, and he's messing people's hair up? Because you can't humiliate what is. You can either stand by it or ignore it. So if Dave Farina is humiliating anyone, the only thing he'll be doing is humiliating people with strawman maps and models and misrepresentations, because anyone who stands by the simplistic truth won't be able to be humiliated by anyone. They'll only get the same results, and the results of which prove the globe scientifically impossible. And when I say that, I'm talking about large standing bodies of water do not have the ability to display convexity upon its surface. Tower cranes and pendulums can't be dead still and plumb whilst doing ludicrous speeds in all different directions. And you can't have an air pressure system next to a vacuum without some kind of solid wall to separate the two. All demonstrable scientific facts, the results of which prove the globe's impossible. That's my stance, that's my fundamentals. That is the flat earth. To fill in the gaps is full exploration all the way, based off the fact the globe's scientifically impossible. But it turns out this Dave Farina is actually Professor Dave, the YouTube sensation, who became quite famous with his so-called flat earth debunks. And of course we know what they are. They're mainstream tosh, where essentially someone becomes an expert in debunking something that no one actually stands by. They just debunk the misrepresentations put out there by the mainstream media, the very same people who tell you and promote the globe. So it's all one big silly pantomime. But it gets worse for this Professor Dave character. Just like all these other globe representatives, they're fake characters. You got Scimandan, supposedly a man of science, yet when you ask for scientific demonstrations and highlight the fact that everyone that can be tested and verified by all prove the globe's impossible, he runs away, loses the plot, goes on an absolute rampage, not in providing demonstrable science, in defending terrible space pantomime performances, thus making his case even worse for anyone with the slightest bit of common sense. He can't provide science, yet his channel is called Scimandan. Yet when asked for science, he has to defend terrible space failures. And that's his whole channel's bread and butter now. It's terrible. And in this instance, so we've got Scimandan, who's anything but science, and then we got Professor Dave, who it turns out is anything but a professor, as we're about to see. Bear with me. So listen to Professor Dave here.
I didn't know what the channel was going to become. I didn't know it was going to become the centerpiece of my life, and that it'd become successful and everything, and that I'd go on to explain dozens of other topics, including topics I know nothing about, but I hire experts in the field to write me the scripts, and then consultants to look at the scripts and look at the finished animations and make sure it's all good, right? I'm not professing to be an expert, honestly, in any academic field, not even chemistry. But I understand it very well. And then the stuff that I don't understand, I have people who do understand it explaining it to me.
So Professor Dave there has just told you, out of his own mouth there, that he's not a professor whatsoever. That he gets other people to write his material and that he just explains it or reads it out. So it's not his own material. He's not a professor. Yet his channel's called Professor Dave. He's got over 2 million subs. He only got momentum when he started addressing the flat earth, not the real flat earth, which is testifiable, verifiable science that we can all do that proves the globe impossible. No, 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 he doesn't address that. He addresses strawmans and misrepresentations of the flat earth, put in the mainstream, by the mainstream, to give the illusion that the flat earth is simply this ridiculous disc with a dome hovering in a heliocentric vacuum with water running off the edge. No, the flat earth is simply demonstrable science that tells us the globe's impossible. That's why YouTube promotes people like so-called Professor Dave here, who's just told you he's not a professor, yet his channel cites himself as a professor, and yet YouTube promotes this plastic fake professor because he does YouTube videos about the flat earth and debunks misrepresentations of the flat earth. And as a result, you've got a plastic fake professor debunking a fake flat earth that no one stands by, having millions of subs, millions of views, to give the impression to weak-minded individuals that that is what the flat earth is and the globe's solid. The globe's impossible. YouTube needs to promote these plastic individuals like Dave or Scimandan to give the illusion that the globe is real. If the globe was real, all you would need to do is cite real demonstrable science, so we tested and verified by all. That would be it. It's impossible because the globe is impossible, and as a result you have to entertain characters like Scimandan defending space pantomime rather than citing science, and then plastic professors like Dave Farina, whose name is better suited to a 70s Italian hairdresser, because that's the only thing this man can humiliate is people's hair. Certainly can't humiliate the flat earth, which is simply demonstrable reality. Globe's impossible. That's why the mainstream needs to promote morons like these characters, Dave and Dan, experts in defending space pantomime, and egotistical plastic professors. It's ridiculous. If you can't see it, that is on you. When you wake up from your silly dull trance, I'm here with open arms, standing by demonstrable science, the things that are, making life very easy for everyone associated with it who stands by it, because you can see the things that simply are, and as a result you can discern better. Look at the mess the mainstream's got itself into. It has to promote morons, and in doing so now, looking at their subject matters, even these people like Dave himself have to admit he's not even a professor, yet he's promoted as one with millions of subs. But he's actually got famous off the back of debunking things that no one believes in the first place. What a mess this mainstream is in, the globe is in, the globe believers, the globe contributors. When I say contributors, I mean content makers online. It's ridiculous, lads. It's just a matter of time before people awaken from it. The cracks are all over the place with your belief system. Plastic professors, supposed Scimandan, an expert in defending space pantomime failures. Oh dear.